All right, welcome to our episode today about drone technology within supply chain. So let's just start with saying drones started out as almost more of this cool new tech toy. And I remember it just didn't seem like that long ago that this was like every kid's wish list and even us big kids wish list for Christmas. And it has turned into a technological advance that is now being used in warehouses and within supply chain. And James today is going to tell us how it's even starting. James, you told me at Walmart's and FedEx, they're starting their own drone fleets for delivery. So tell us more about what drones are doing within supply chain.
Well, thanks, Izzy. Well, drones are doing a lot of things. I think what we mostly see, and I think most people associate drones now with as potential delivery of orders to customers, but that's only one thing that drones can potentially do. And like you just mentioned about Walmart and FedEx and these other organizations, they're just starting to get authorization from the FAA to start looking at large scale delivery programs. But and not this is drones are being looked all over the world as being a delivery solution, not only for products but also for medication. If you look in countries in Africa, they're using drones to deliver medication to rural areas right now. Um, and also, utility companies are using drones to inspect infrastructure, particularly after disasters, but general maintenance purposes. If you have a stretch of oil pipeline that's in the middle of nowhere, you send a drone to inspect it, to look for leaks, to look for any kind of damages to it. So that infrastructure is something that could be even as simple as something inspecting around a warehouse to see if there's leaks on the roof or if there's any damage to a railroad line. So they're being used for those reasons also. And when you start thinking about inventory within a warehouse, warehouses are becoming larger and larger buildings. There's buildings that are 1 million square feet where a drone will be used to help manage the inventory. So there's a lot of reasons that and a lot of uh, 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 work that drones are doing in the supply chain right now, and that's only going to expand.
Yeah, that's amazing because I know a lot of people, when we hear that something new is coming, fear can enter the mind and we can think, oh my goodness, that's taking jobs away from humans. But in this case, it's actually being used in the places where we can't necessarily have humans or have humans safely. So it's filling in this gap and it's really helping companies out.
Oh, absolutely. Even looking at that last mile delivery we were just talking about in some of the African countries where medicine must be delivered. Well, first of all, by using a drone, they're delivering that urgent medication faster. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to fly a drone there than to drive a truck, and then it's more healthier to the environment. The emissions, the carbon emission compared to a drone to a van is a 99% reduction in carbon emissions. So it hits a lot of areas where it's a positive effect by use of a drone.
For sure. And I think a big topic right now for everyone is gas prices. So we can definitely see just in that lane where it's
Mhm.
going to really make a difference as well. And as we were preparing for this chat, I, of course, got curious and I looked up and I saw that drones can carry quite a bit. They can carry anything from 12 pounds to 40 pounds to a human being, which I was like instantly searching, going, how do I find my own drone to carry me?
Yes, and again, right, with that additional weight and these additional improvements that are being made to drones, it keeps expanding the possibilities of drones. When initially they started looking at last mile delivery with drones, dropping a package off, they were first looking at actually saying, well, the product couldn't weigh so much because they physically had to drop the package. They couldn't land the drone; they had to drop the package. But now new technologies have came so that the drone can actually map an area around it to avoid obstacles. So it can actively avoid obstacles by mapping around them, not only just stationary objects, but moving objects. So it can avoid all of that. And then now there's drone technology where a number of drones can be linked together, so more and more weight can be carried. Mm-hmm. And we think of drones as probably what we see on TV is the ones that look like helicopters, yes. Right? But there's also drones that look like regular airplanes, more of the military type drones. They're making smaller versions of those, and so that those too can do a similar task, but they're more stable in longer, windier, less climate, with more climatological concerns, heavy winds, hard rains. Those types of drones can manage that better. So again, it's opening up the possibility for more and more drones being used in the supply chain.
So speaking of opening possibilities, this is also opening up a new career option for many people. And I know within BridgePort's SCLT&W, the supply chain logistics warehouse technology certification that's available, you all are offering drone training in the warehouses. Tell us more about that.
Yes, we see that as a employment opportunity that's opening up over the upcoming years. That this is going to be one of the fastest growing opportunities because drones will serve a very large use in supply chain. So that's why we started that program, and so it includes getting a FAA license to be able to fly that drone. So right now, the rules around drones are line of sight, but it's changing, and soon it'll be beyond line of sight. And so now we're training people so that they can start entering that field beyond line of sight, so they can start programming drones to deliver, and that's going to be a very high-paying position. So I think.
Super interesting. And I noticed that when I was like, okay, can I buy one of these high-tech drones online yesterday? And it said anyone who purchases a certain level of drone has to register with the FAA. So the standards are changing and they'll probably continue to change. So you have to have a license to have a credential in this now, huh?
Oh yeah, and that device that you buy has to be registered, and it has to, so that it can be identified to who the owner is and and where it's being operated from. So again, formal education around drone operation is becoming more and more as a requirement in the next coming years.
Awesome. So we've got the drones in the warehouse to help with the inventory in these large scale size warehouses. We've got the drones that are giving deliveries. What else are drones allowing supply chain to do? And I know you mentioned a few of them, but can you expound on that even more?
Well, the thing is that from our perspective, right, we are looking at since we are the space that we sit in the supply chain, we're a warehouse and a last mile deliverer. So we're looking at doing that last mile delivery with drones, managing our inventory with drones, but also how do we get product to our warehouse? So we get product from train yards, we get product from shipping, from shipyards, and from airports. So it would be fantastic if that product could be delivered by drones. Again, for all those reasons we talked about, reduce costs, reduce time, and more energy efficient, so it reduces carbon emissions. So we're heavily exploring that for lifting those larger, heavier loads and bringing to us.
This is amazing. Supply chain, logistics, warehouses, dramatic changes in the past just 5 years. And
Mhm.
where do you see really like where the warehouses, supply chain, logistics, technology, where we're at right now and this big change that's happening? What are some more of these big drastic changes you think we're really going to be shifting into as well?
Well, I think that one of the big changes for warehouses has already started to happen, where almost all warehouses are now fulfillment centers. So years ago, a warehouse was a warehouse. You moved it in there. It was there for 6 months before that big product moved out to a retail center. Well, that's all changed. The warehouse is the point where it's delivered to the customer, so that those brick and mortar retail places are disappearing and being replaced by delivery services. The assembly, even some light manufacturing, will all be done within warehouses going forward. So the warehouse will not only be just a storage facility, but a manufacturing and assembly facilities. And now, because of one place where drones will ultimately be at one point or another, they will probably, warehouses will be points of drone repair.
Okay.
And again, more jobs in the warehouse. There's going to be somebody repairing drones at the warehouse. So all these things. So that's how I see that the warehousing will be changed by that. It's just going to take on more and more responsibility.
Yes, and that's a whole new career field. That's so many more jobs, but it's also jobs shifting, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
less of these customer service, someone standing behind a cash register, and it's more advanced jobs that are going to require training.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that, like you said, people complain that this technology is taking jobs away. No, it's not really. It's just shifting the job. You know, you know, Probably 40 years ago, the vision of what a warehouse was a guy in dirty clothes dragging a box to push into a truck. Well, that's not true anymore. Automation has taken over a lot of that manual work, but somebody has to program that machine. Somebody has to service that machine. Those manual jobs are now being turned into technical jobs, and more of these technical jobs are, like you said, from the retail job, from someone who was as a cashier. Now, since those brick and mortar stores are disappearing and they're flowing more towards a warehouse, now that job becomes more technical, because now that person is doing something else besides just typing in a price. So maybe
Yeah,
he's operating a drone.
it's asking our society to advance in itself. It's
Hmm.
asking our culture to gain more education, gain more knowledge, and evolve as well.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
and you'll see that in almost every field going. But like I said, I think a lot of stuff is going to be drawn into that era of supply chain, and so there's going to be more and more technical jobs associated with that. Even something like a production engineer, you would never think there was a production engineer in a warehouse, an IT engineer in a warehouse. All these jobs are going to be coming into the warehouse. So, and we're looking forward to that. It's a challenge, but it's a great challenge.
For sure. And now looking at the educational aspect too, is the benefit is and I'm seeing a lot of the colleges are shifting as well, so that we're not really getting as many of these 4-year, 8-year degrees, that we're actually getting specific certifications that train us in these areas. And that's where also Bridgeport has really stepped up and said, let me give you exactly what you need so that you don't have to go do a
Mhm.
4-year degree and learn these things that you might not need as well.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. I think the trend now is more in getting stackable certifications so that you don't spend 4 years going to school and 2 of the years you're learning something that's general.
Yeah.
So now you go in, you learn specifically if you're going to be a drone pilot, you learn to be a drone pilot. And if you decide, well, I want to work on drones, then you go to work on more engineering around that into a 2-year certification. So in 3 years you're a pilot and you can do all the repairs required. Less time, less money, and yet you still at the end have the same job.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and it really allows people to explore their interest and get direct knowledge as well. So Bridgeport is really providing this expertise. I know, James, you are an expert in your field.
Okay.
Tell us, like, how did you gain all of this knowledge, and how did you learn all of this?
Well, I backed into it. I started off my degree was in mathematics. I came out and I ended up after working for city planning for a number of years. I decided to do something on my own, and then from there I started to work. I was actually exporting industrial equipment, which exposed me to supply chain. And
Okay.
because I was doing it and that was part of my business, I started to learn it and then realized what a challenge it was around it for a lot of companies and started consulting around it. So
Yeah, so you get that firsthand experience, which again, it's so important. A lot of times we're always moving theoretically. It's much different to theoretically do something versus like get the experience and actually do it.
well, and the thing is that and around certifications, I realized the importance of that because one of the first certifications I got, actually, I started that I once I started getting into involved in supply chain and international trade was to get my ISO certifications. So, and that was a certification, and I realized the value of it. So now I started looking at other certifications, started building upon that, and then which allowed me to do more and more things. So,
Which
and
is perfect. I know I'm a certification junkie myself. It's like, I need this knowledge. Where do I find it? Okay, there's a certification. I acquired the knowledge. And it clearly articulates on a resume as well that I specifically know this,
mhm.
aside from just something general. So it's amazing, and the students who take this are lucky to have you, and have your knowledge. And if anyone is interested, we do have this training is available. Tell us where it's available at. I know we're thinking about doing some online courses as well, but how can they do this in person at the moment with Bridgeport?
Well, we work with Tri-C in Cleveland, and so we could be contacted directly at Bridgeport. But since our certifications, we're working hand in hand with Tri-C. If you could reach out to Tri-C, it's all within their catalog, and we can be contacted that way. And then you can get on and get aboard and join the team with us.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. And lots of opportunities coming up with the new iSpace building and utilizing drones there. I'm sure you're probably going to recruit a lot of people from those who have attended the Tri-C certification as well.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the reasons why we started the training. we started doing training around supply chain when we had with our warehouse in Louisville, and and we realized that we needed to do some training to the people that we were bringing in, and then we kind of had a realization that we thought this training could be helpful to people moving forward. So we contacted Tri-C, worked with them, and now we are doing it out of Cleveland.
Okay. So I think the big takeaway is, if you are interested in drones, there is a career in that. But also, warehouses are not what they used to be. And if you are looking for a new advanced career, this really seems like a really smart industry to go into. So if someone is wanting to find out more, if they're wanting to implement things like this into their business as well, BridgePort offers consultant services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just very first when we started contacted Tri-C, they asked us to come in and evaluate their warehouses. But the one thing I will say about this is that we encourage women to look at this, right? Because again, I think they have that old impression that it's a bunch of big guys in there lifting heavy boxes, and it's so different now inside of a warehouse. So
Not anymore. Yes.
Yeah.
I know I might get up there and come do a drone certification at some point. That sounds really fascinating.
Okay, then we welcome you.
All right. So when it comes to consulting services and examining people's warehouses and helping warehouses advance to the beyond the 21st century, how does Bridgeport step in and help in that way?
Well, we a lot of times for companies to capture businesses and moving forward, they need to have an ISO certification. If you want to be in the airline industry, you need to have a certain certification. If you want to function within the auto industry, you need to have a certain ISO certification. So we help you prepare to receive that ISO certification. And also, if you just want to improve the flow of your warehouse, you examine your processes, we could come in and take a look at those. And we often do, and to make a warehouse more efficient, more effective in getting their products in and out of their warehouse.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure every warehouse should do that at least once a year, right? Just to ensure that they are functioning optimally.
Well, what we would hope is that they do that on their own, but they should. But we will be more than happy to come in, take a look at it, and then we'll help your team to understand how to evaluate themselves on a regular basis to make themselves more efficient and more effective.
Perfect. Because I know that's what everyone is needing right now. They're needing a little extra help. They're needing processes put in place because the industry, we are lacking on people a little bit right now. So they might need help in pivoting so that they can function on a lower staff.
Yes, but and again, right? I think what's going to happen is that people have to get over that old image. People don't want to go. I don't want to go to an old dirty warehouse. But once that image starts to wash away, and people see what's going on in these large warehouses where you have autonomous vehicles traveling that actually bring you the product, we have automation in there that carries the product, packages the product, and drops it off at the dock door ready to be placed inside the vehicle. You realize the level of technology that you're working within. And it's not, and absolutely warehouses are not dirty.
No,
No.
they are not.
Yeah,
We have some amazing pictures of how clean they really are.
right. Yeah, you should be a good warehouse. You could eat off the floor. So
Well, thank you so much, James. I think you've given us a lot of perspective around how much advancing technology is really happening within the warehouses, as well as giving us a great insight in the new future of drones, warehouses, and how us women as well need to consider the warehouse field as a potential career.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me on, Izzy. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And we will see you again soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.